This is Kits and Wagers. I'm Adam Zdroik, joined by Chris Owen. We're talking game week 34 in the Premier League. Kits and Wagers, currently known as Beers and Wagers. Chris, you had a positive weekend last weekend. It's been a busy week. It's been a really busy week. I don't know how much you've been keeping track of all these matches that are going on. I've been throwing bets in, and there's just too many matches of little to no research on my part. Maybe a few losses on my end as well. But Chris, Thursday, we have one day of a break in the Premier League. How's it going? How was your work day? What's going on? Friday Junior is here.
Boom. That's what I wanted to hear right there, Adam. First and foremost, welcome to Beers and Wagers. It is Friday Junior. We got a couple cold ones going on. I got a Hellas Lager from Rubens Brewing here in Seattle. We're lucky enough, cheers. We're lucky enough to be podcasting on Friday Junior. It's 6:30 for me, 9:30 for Adam out there in Michigan.
Take a sip.
Excuse me, I had to try this beer, but yeah, we've had a little bit of spring, summer weather rolling out here. The vibes are currently immaculate. It's going to be about 75 all weekend, full sun, and not only that, but yes, we had 10 very intense games in the Premier League over the past week. We had a really great weekend last weekend. Big bounce back, at least for me, from the weekend prior. You could only really go up from the weekend prior, but I in fact did go up. And so I feel much better about it this week. And, we're in the stretch run. We are, when that calendar turns from April to May, that's what we call here the business end of the season here. And that's where we, are we going to end the season profitable? Are we going to end up in the black? That's really where we count our success. And happy
that's
to
only
chat
a question for you. That's only a question for you.
Okay, Adam. Some of us haven't, and we haven't narrowed down the market on corners, but some of us have been making a little bit more general bets. But yes, credit to you. Looks like it's going to be a profitable season here for me. I'm stressed out. I got to keep making good bets. I got to keep making sure that that they're making sense here. So I'm just happy to be here, and we got a couple. We each got 4 more bets coming at the listeners here and for ourselves here this week. So yeah, let's crack into it. Maybe
let's crack into it. I got a sweet potato souffle rye ale.
Oof. What's going on there? Sweet potato souffle
ales. Yep. Yeah, it's 11%. So by the end of the show, I'm gonna be ready for bed, I guess is kind of what it comes down to. So perfect timing. But
nice.
As you can see,
does it taste good, or is it? Does it taste good, or is it?
Yeah. So I've been saying this is like one of my favorite beers because I hadn't had it for a couple years, and then I went to this brewery last weekend, so I bought some, and I don't know if it lives up to my expectation, but it's still pretty nice to drink. It's still pretty nice to go down. It has a nice little sweetness to it, but it's not overly heavy. I don't want to say, but I enjoyed it. If you like darker, heavy beers, it's good to try. But obviously, nice. I'm not sure you get odd side ales out where you are, so maybe some other time.
Yeah, when I'm in the Midwest.
Yeah, there you go, Wisconsinite.
Yeah.
So the records here. I'm 58-29, up over 3,000. Chris is 43-39-2. He's up over 500. And then we'll talk about the parlay later. But we have some big numbers. If we're looking at, you can find our records here on the site. A little breakdown of each team by team, just called the Kits and Wagers betting records here. And the big one that stands out to me, we're gonna get to it later. It's the third game we're talking about. Chris is 2-7 on Everton matches. So man, he needs to come through with this one. But I'm 6-1 on Aston Villa matches. So hopefully that can come through. But Chris, are you ready for it? Are you ready for the start of this show?
I feel like that's a stat I didn't need to see, but but yeah, no, that's tough.
Getting into your head here with this?
No, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'm all I'm seeing is 7-1 on Fulham. Should have bet the Fulham game this week. But yeah, you're right. 1-5 on Nottingham Forest, and Yeah, 2-7 on betting on Everton. It's like the Liverpool fan in me that's messed me up here. But yeah, I mean, hopefully we can get to 3-7 because we are going to be betting on that game here shortly.
We'll get there. We'll get there. So the first match we're talking about a Saturday match, a Sunday match, and a Monday match. The first one we're talking about, we got Brighton at home. Brighton looking for a bit of a bounce back. They're home against Wolverhampton. You can get Brighton, they're minus 195 to win, and the odds have actually gone down here. They used to be minus 220. Now it's minus 195. Plus 550 for Wolverhampton, plus 350 for the draw. Under 2.5 goals is plus 100. Over 2.5 goals is minus 125. So we'll see what this Brighton lineup looks like. They don't do a ton of rotation. They aren't that deep. So it will be interesting to see them if they get into European play next season. So they lost at Nottingham Forest, kind of fell apart a little bit in the second half. I believe that was Wednesday. And so do you think do you think they're going to bounce back? I guess that's the main question. You think Brighton are going to bounce back?
Well, tough week for Brighton, man. Holy smokes. I mean, they lost on penalties to Man United on Sunday. They dropped points, again on what was that, Wednesday, I believe. And so here they go. They're playing at home though. So I mean, credit to them there. That definitely helps them out. But they're playing a Wolverhampton side. We know how Wolves plays. It's ugly. It's gonna be, they're gonna try to kind of hold you in and like stay compact. Meanwhile, it's interesting that like you look at the previous history of these games. They played earlier this season back in November. That came out to a rare 3-2. A win for Brighton, but a 3-2 result nonetheless, with 5 total goals in a Wolves game, which is not something you typically expect. Going back, they won the previous match before that. That was 3-0. They had lost 1-0 to Wolverhampton. That was also at home, and then it was 2-1, 3-3. So there's been over the past 5 games, they've gone over 2.5 goals 4 out of the 5 matches here, which is not something that you typically expect from, at least from Wolverhampton. But Brighton have been filling it up throughout the season, and they've got a really nice front three too that I'm slowly becoming a fan of as the season's gone on. So because of those reasons, I'm going over 2.5 at minus 125. Barely, you get decent odds there. I think Brighton at home, after a tough week of playing 120 minutes and then kind of losing that FA Cup semi to Man United, that was tough. And then I think when you go on a 3-day, you get 3 days of, like, I guess if you want to call it rest, and you have to play right away again. It feels like you're bound to lose that game, or bound to struggle. We saw that happen in Newcastle when they played in the League Cup final against Manchester United, where they lost. They kind of, let alone different opponent, but they kind of struggle in the next match after that. So I feel like they can bounce back here against a Wolverhampton team at home. But I mean, I feel like there's going to be a couple goals, and so I'm going to take that over 2.5 at minus 125. I think between Mitoma, March, and Danny Welbeck and company, that they'll be able to fill it up, and maybe Wolverhampton can find the back of the net too.
You don't have faith in Wolverhampton's back line here?
Not really, no. Should I?
All right. Well, I'm just wondering. You got the Lopetegui back line. They're coming off a clean sheet against Crystal Palace. I'm just trying to come up with reasons.
Yeah, Crystal Palace. Yeah, clean sheet against Crystal Palace. Not the first team to say that. I mean, you looking
including
at the full
Everton.
season here. Yeah, looking at the full season here. Wolverhampton are about mid-table in terms of goals that they've conceded away from home. They've conceded 23 goals in 11 matches played. So it's like, I think Brighton can score plenty of goals too. So it's like, I think you lean here on the over 2.5. You're getting friendly enough odds there too. So it's like you might as well lean towards that. Brighton, meanwhile, have scored 25 goals in 14 matches.
I thought this was going to be your patented 2 to 3 goals scored kind of a thing.
That would have been too smart of me to do that. I don't even know. I didn't look for that one because I saw the over 2.5 away, and I saw friendly odds, and I was like, let's go with that one. But I mean, what do you have going on your bet? While I look up this total goal bands.
We got corners. So
Of
Brighton are at
course.
home. And this one, I think the odds are going to move here. So we're talking Thursday night. This is a kind of bet where you got Brighton at home in a pretty good spot to control the match.
That 11% is hitting already.
Game speak, smart spot. So I got Brighton minus 1.5 corners in the first half. That's at minus 105 odds. So I think that line is gonna move up. There's a couple bets. I can't remember right now what I took last week, but the corner bets, I think it was actually maybe one of the Newcastle ones. It moved from I maybe took it at minus 110, minus 115. It moved to like minus 130, minus 140, and the odds even and the number even changed. So I almost think that this is going to be a bet where it moves to like minus 1.75. Brighton are at home and they're coming off a loss. They're going to want to rebound. And I mean, looking at the table, they're 8th in the table. They still have a slight chance to get to a European spot. They're a little bit on the way out here after that loss against Nottingham Forest, but they're still not done. I think they're just going to control this match early in the first half. They're going to come out gunning, and as long as they get some corners, I think this is a pretty safe bet. I'll say it right now. It's a safe
bet. Wow, love that.
Brighton minus 1.5 corners in the first half. Chris has over 2.5 goals, minus 125. I'll say it's a safe bet until they get 3 goals and then they have no corners, because that has happened to me before. So
interesting. I love that. I mean,
would you find 2 to 3 goals? What are the odds there?
I found.
All right, Chris has. We'll get him back here.
3 goals at plus 105. Sorry, I just switched my headphones were getting me a little bit of feedback, so I switched over. But 2 to 3 goals at plus 105. So I mean, you like that one? That seems like easy cash too.
We sounding better now here?
Yeah, you are definitely. It must have been on my headphones.
Okay, must be low on battery on the AirPods.
Yep. Anyways, we're back to it. I think we see like a 2-1 result here. That's what I would.
That's what I was going to ask you. What your exact score prediction was?
If I was going to go exact, I'd go to Brighton 2, Wolverhampton 1.
Okay. All right. I like it. Okay, next game we're talking about, we got Sunday. Sunday is pretty busy. We also had we have the Liverpool Tottenham game in there, but we're not talking about that. We're talking another team coming off the FA Cup semifinal. Manchester United are home, and the odds have really gone to Aston Villa's favor here. If you're watching on YouTube or Twitter, Manchester United were 4 days ago, they were minus 165 to win this game. Now they're minus 125. Those odds actually changed. They changed this morning, actually. So there's some Aston Villa love coming in. Aston Villa to win are plus 330. Draw is plus 300. And then you're going to get over 2.5 goals, minus 150, under 2.5, plus 120. So we got Manchester United. We kind of just talked about Brighton being a little tired a little bit here in their loss against Nottingham Forest. Then you have Manchester United. They go up 2 goals, and then they allow 2 in the second half against Tottenham. So you have that thrown in there. Manchester United, another team that doesn't like to rotate. You have Bruno Fernandes playing through whatever ankle issue he had. His girlfriend, wife, took a picture of him with a boot 2 days ago, and now he's playing full 90s on Thursday. So I guess he's fine. Otherwise, Manchester United have a bunch of other injuries. Harry Maguire was a surprise absence. Varane's probably going to be out for the season. Lisandro Martinez is out. So they got some injury issues. Other side of that, Aston Villa playing really well. So do you think Aston Villa's form is going to be a factor here, playing even though it's at Old Trafford, where Manchester United have been pretty good this season? Let me just look at that record before shooting it over to you. They're 11-3-1 at home this season. They've only allowed 8 goals in 15 home matches. That is best in the league.
This is one of the best matches of the weekend, which is not something you expected out of Aston Villa, Manchester United. I mean, here we have Adam Zdroik here live on the Kitchen Wagers, Beers and Wagers podcast. He's in the Aston Villa shirt, so if his allegiance, is unclear to you, further. But yeah, as you mentioned, Manchester United really solid at Old Trafford. But on the other hand, I mean, Aston Villa are unbeaten in 10 matches. That's 8 wins, 2 draws. They've they've won and I mean they've held every single team. Like they're just playing unbelievably well. They're on the tipping point of Europe next season, and I think you're looking at a Man United team. You played 120 on Sunday. They just were 2-0 up on Tottenham, and then they conceded 2 more goals in the second half to drop 2 points is what I would call it. And
Mhm.
now they're facing a team who's literally been the hottest team aside from Manchester City, maybe in the Premier League in over 10 games. I think they've been the best team here, and so it's tough for me to go like, hey, I take Man United at home. I see the reasoning in that, but I mean, man, it's tough to look at that Aston Villa form as of late, and not really. I mean, for me, they're I don't think they're missing too many people in their lineup, at least on a Thursday. Pretty standard from what we've seen. So that they still got the firepower up front, and they've just been playing really well. And you can get them away from home, mind you, but you can get Aston Villa double chance at plus 105. So I'm going to go there. I don't, is this? I'm not going to give it the Adams Zdroik faith bet labeling here, but you got to feel good about them getting plus odds, having been unbeaten in their last 10. And then from a historical perspective, they played earlier this season twice. Actually, they met in the League Cup. They lost at Old Trafford 4-2. That was back in November, and then also in November, Aston Villa at home, they beat Man United 3-1. That was November 6th, and then you go back to the previous season. They also played. They played a match. I guess that would have been a preseason match. But back last season, Villa held Man United at home, and then they played in the FA Cup. Man United won 1-0 at home, but then their first match of the season, which was also in the Premier League, Villa won that 1-0 at Old Trafford. So pretty mixed bag, but I mean, what that bag says is that Villa can win and or hold a result at Old Trafford. So I'm going to go Aston Villa double chance plus 105.
Yeah, I'm looking at these historical numbers here, and as you're reading those off, there's a lot of goals. There are a lot of goals in that one. I think the first time these two teams played, so they played November 6th and then November 10th. It was 3-1 Aston Villa and then 4-2 Manchester United. One was the EFL Cup. I think that might have been the first couple matches for Unai Emery. So he still didn't have, a hold of this team, I guess is what I'll say here. But he's really, by the end of this weekend, there's a chance Aston Villa is above Tottenham. And I mean, they're currently in the number 6 spot here. So, I mean, it would be pretty crazy for Aston Villa to actually get a what is the 5th spot? I guess the 6th spot. I mean, no matter, pretty crazy for Aston Villa to get a European spot. Yeah,
because FA Cup should be whether it's Man United or Man City. I think that goes into the European places, correct?
yeah. So, I mean, I don't even know if it's the same situation as like we have West Ham playing in the UECL right now. I think that was 7th in the table. Either way,
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
it is.
So
Yep.
So Unai Emery is kind of just like taken over this team, and they've been awesome. The main stat I'm looking for with my bet is they've allowed in their last 9 league matches away from home, they've only given up 1 goal more than once. That was against Manchester City. Otherwise, they've held Tottenham scoreless. They've held Brighton scoreless. They've held Chelsea scoreless. Every other team, 1 goal or fewer.
Newcastle scoreless.
Newcastle scoreless, missed that one. And then you got Manchester United at home. You can look at some of their home results: 2-0 Everton, 1-0 Brentford, scoreless draw against Southampton, 3-0 against Leicester City. Okay. So you got those two things. You got them combined. And I think that the way Aston Villa have been playing, their defense has been awesome. Den Donker has moved into the starting 11 the last 3 or 4 matches, and they've just gotten better. They're pretty much, you can kind of see their improvement if you're just looking at the numbers for Aston Villa under Emery. All that to say, I'm going under 2.5 goals here at plus 120. What do you think? Plus 120, under 2.5 goals. People want to see goals in this match, but do you think that's going to happen?
Yeah, no, I was just looking at Aston Villa. I mean, you mentioned their away form and how they've really held teams, but you look at their past 6 matches, and Aston Villa's conceded 2 goals. They've conceded 2 goals in the last 6 matches away from home, which is like an impeccable defensive record when you think about some of the. I mean, they've had a couple easier matches, but they like Newcastle, for instance. It's been an interesting ride here with Emery, and the only other team. I mean, Man City's been up there in holding teams, but they've only scored 5 goals here away from home in those 6 matches too. So it's like 7 goals, 6 matches. This does when you collect that all, it does feel like an under 2.5 is an interesting bet.
Yeah, I know they're at home, but that Fulham match, they gave up 1 shot against Fulham, and then they kind of dismantled this Newcastle team that's running over everyone. They beat Newcastle 3-0 in that home match. I don't know how many shots they actually got off, but I think it was under 10. Newcastle they just didn't have anything in that game. So throw all that together. I'll take under 2.5 goals at plus 120. Chris has Aston Villa double chance at plus 105. So we're kind of I don't know if my bet's exactly going against Manchester United, but I'd say a little bit
I
in
feel
that
like we're
there.
looking at like a 1-1 here. I mean, that doesn't bode well from our historical perspective, but I feel like we're for the podcast here for the Kiss and Waiters pod, we would love a 1-1 result.
Yeah, I'd say the 1-1, maybe 1-0, maybe the side
Yeah,
gets the 1-0 result. I think
yeah.
those are both in play. So just kind of a weird top 6 battle here between Manchester United and Aston Villa.
A fun one nonetheless, though.
Mhm. Yeah. Third game we're talking about. We got Monday Night Football. This Monday Night Football is a relegation battle. We have Leicester City, our home. They're a plus 105 to win. Everton plus 265. Draw plus 240. Over 2.5 goals plus 100. Under 2.5 goals minus 175. Sorry, minus 125. Misread that one. So Everton, they played Thursday and they let it get away from them. 4-1, 5-1, they lost it. They were at home against Newcastle. They gave up one, I don't know, unfortunate goal in the first half. And then the second half, it was just like, okay, let's let Isak just dribble around 5 of our guys and do
Yeah,
whatever he wants. I don't know if you saw that highlight, but we got Leicester City. I think they've had 3 matches maybe with Dean Smith, and they've looked better. They have looked better, even though Dean Smith has had some iffy moments in the Premier League at Aston Villa. But Leicester City have looked better. I think it was 1-1. They drew Leeds midweek. They were down a goal for the majority of that match, and then they got a late one. So now we got 18th and 19th in the table. What do you think here? Does home field advantage matter in this spot, Chris?
I think it matters enough to get like a result, and a result is a draw. But I think pre-show we were chatting, and our first initial thoughts on this were like, should we take the draw plus 250? But I don't think we've ever given a standalone bet on any of our matches above 200. So we kind of steered away from that. But this, you talk about 2 teams absolutely that are going to duke it out for a spot to for some points to get out of that relegation zone, and that's Leicester and Everton. I mean, this feels like it's going to be a disgusting match and just like a grueling, Monday night under the lights match. But that said, I think, and funny enough, my dad was watching this Newcastle Everton match, and he's like, "This is the Everton team that I feel like I've seen all season. They take one back. They were down 2-1 off that Dwight McNeil goal, and then they immediately have 2 more goals scored on them. So
Yeah.
it's like they're not. I mean, we had this conversation last season. Is Everton gonna figure it out? Or are they gonna grind out results? And they eventually did last season, but it just feels like it's a bridge too far for them this season. And I mean, Leicester, on the other hand, yes, they've been a bit more organized under Dean Smith, but do we think that they've got their attacking lineup hasn't shown that they've got the firepower really to kind of pull them out of it? So I'm just going to go with I think this is this has under 2.5 written all over it for me. Minus 2.5. You look back. I mean, they played earlier this year back in November. It was 2-0. And then last season it was 2-1 and 1-1, and then the season prior it was 1-1 and 2-0. So 4 of the past 5 matches has been under 2.5. I'm going to lean on that here and just lean on the fact that have Everton scored a lot of goals? No. Have Leicester scored a lot of goals? Not really either. So I'm on the under here, but it looks like you're back to corners and wagers on your bet.
I moved on to corners and wagers. As you said, I did have draw up here, and then I second guessed it and removed the draw at plus 235 or whatever it was.
That's the bonus bet from the podcast. Is that the draw plus 250?
Yeah. Yeah. So Everton, it's been they had some moments under Deitch, but pretty much since that Doucouré red card against Tottenham and Harry Kane, I know they got the Michael Keane laser of a goal in that one to draw that 1-1, but they've kind of been, they just haven't looked very good. And they kind of, I thought they were going to turn some things around today because they got back Doucouré, they got back Onana in the midfield from injury. But I mean, Ben Godfrey was kind of getting lit up there. Him playing right back, he was just letting guys just kind of dribble and pass and give up goals. So that is one worrying thing. So this bet is, maybe it's a bad decision, maybe it's a poor decision, but let's just run with it here. I don't think Everton have more than 4 corners in like their last 5 matches, but again, let's ignore it. Let's ignore that stat, and we're just going to say that Everton aren't going to score first in this match, or they're not going to score in the first 45. And I think that they need it. Everton need points more than Leicester do. They're down 1 point. I think Everton will have to push more than Leicester have to push. And I think that's going to lead to more Everton corners. And you can get Everton over 4.5 corners at minus 110. So I'm just hoping they figure it out. In this Tottenham match, in this Newcastle match, so they kind of look like the better team for, I don't know if I want to say the first 30 minutes. For a good portion in that first half before that goal, they were pressuring Newcastle. They were getting opportunities. They may have even finished with more shots, maybe not the end of the game, but they were pressuring Newcastle. They had a lot of opportunities. They didn't lead to corners, but I think they're kind of going to do the same thing here. And Leicester City is just a team that is Leicester City. They're also at the bottom of the table for a reason. So I think that's going to result in some corners. At least I'm hoping it's going to result in some corners. So Everton over 4.5 corners, minus 110. Chris has under 2.5 corners, minus 125. So what do you think? 1-1? Is this another 1-1 result we got here?
I mean, I think Leicester, if Leicester picks up all 3 points here, but I don't have the gumption to bet on that.
You don't want to bet that.
I don't really want to bet that. I don't feel I don't like, I'm not enough to put that here, but I do think that they do. If I had to take a team here, I'd take Leicester at home. I mean, we know how that works, but I mean, like, to support your concept here on the Everton over 4.5 corners, minus 110. They've played from behind, aside from the Crystal Palace 0-0 2 games ago. They played from behind in each of their past, or in 5 of the past 6 matches, if you don't count that Crystal Palace match. So it's like, I feel like they're going to have to press forward. I mean, and maybe come out of their shell a little bit. I wouldn't. Leicester City, from a purely talent standpoint, they have a bit better attack, and I mean, maybe their backline's not great, but I feel like Everton's going to have to push forward and try to get an equalizer, especially with a team that they're directly competing with in the relegation zone.
Jamie Vardy set for the start.
Can he pull less? We're getting towards the happy trails for Jamie Vardy at Leicester City. It doesn't feels like it might be kind of soon. And can he pull one more rabbit out of the hat here for the Foxes?
He's been getting more minutes lately under Dean Smith here, but Iheanacho, I doubt he's going to be starting here. He injured his groin late in their match midweek, so I doubt Iheanacho is going to start, and I think Vardy is the preferred option over Patson Daka, but we'll see how that looks.
Can we get like a bittersweet Jamie Vardy anytime goal?
He scored last game, I think. Was he the guy that scored?
But I'm saying, like, can we?
Yeah.
In a big spot here. Well, as the does it turn to May on Monday? Is it May 1st on Monday?
Probably. It's coming up,
Yeah,
April
so,
27th.
we're in the last month of the season. Jamie Vardy, that's where he shines.
Jamie Vardy, if you remember correctly, I think his over-under is about 10.5, 11.5. He's sitting at 2 goals, but maybe the first time in his career he has more assists than goals. He has 4 assists.
Wow.
So
I think in our original podcast, I was like, yeah, smash the Jamie Vardy over. I don't know if that's correct or not, but I
feel like we went the opposite way, or maybe we didn't.
I thought you went under and I went over.
Okay.
But
I'll take the correct side of that. I'll take that.
Yeah, I'm giving you credit here.
All right, so the team parlay. We're going to talk a little bit about this Liverpool match. Team parlay record doesn't matter. We're still up $638 on the season on our team parlay. There's been 29 of them. Okay, I'll say the record. We're 10-19, but whatever. What are you going to do? Chris was correct last week. My bet blew up in my face, which I said there's a possibility of it. I took Manchester City. Chris is looking confused right now because he doesn't know what I took, but I took Manchester City under 7.5 corners.
Yeah, corners bad,
and they had 7.
Can't go back and track this.
They were just like Sheffield United were just giving them corners, and it was 7 corners in the first half. I mean, I knew it was over then. It was just like they were just like launching the ball in, and Sheffield United were clearing it. It was just like back to back early in the first half, and I was like, oh man. And then your bet hit. I think you had Manchester City over 2.5 goals, I want to say. But so Chris's record is still positive. He's 16-12 on this parlay bet. But get into this Liverpool match. So as we're talking about line movement, you can find all this line movement. Go to the sports betting pages on RotoWire. Go to the soccer page, obviously. But Liverpool, minus 145 4 days ago. Now they're minus 185. So the hate on Tottenham is just growing by the minute. Tottenham to win or plus 475. But this is your team, and you got to bet in this match. So what are your thoughts on this game here in general?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the odds change, but I mean, we talked about this last week when we previewed the Tottenham Newcastle match. And we were like, okay, Tottenham is an absolute disaster right now. And what happened is they came out and were an absolute disaster.
Yeah, you had money line there. We both had that
Newcastle money line, and that would have been my stamp of approval, my safety bet for the weekend, because I was like, there's no way that Newcastle doesn't come out. I saw Men in Blazers of all people had the most. It was like the most entertaining yet disgusting video compilation, and it was like Conte's like quotes after they had lost, like right before the week before he got fired, when he went off about Tottenham as a club, and they played it over all 5 goals against Tottenham, and it was like against Newcastle, and it was like, there is like joy, and it was ridiculous. But anyways. That's how I feel about Tottenham right now, and it's tough, but they're going to be
Tottenham are 5th in the table. We say it every time we talk about them.
Mind you, yes, they are 5th in the table. They're in a pretty good place to play back in Europe next season. Won't be Champions League. I'll be surprised if it's Europa League, but I'm going to kind of steer away from taking a team here. Although I mean, Liverpool at Anfield has actually been pretty good this season. It's away from home where they've struggled, and then you go back and you look at my main man Mohamed Salah, who's been super. He didn't score last game, but other than that, he's scored quite a bit recently. He scored 3 straight matches prior to that, and then he didn't score against Chelsea where he was a sub, and then when he started against Manchester City, he scored the lone goal. So he scored in 4 straight starts. I think he finds the back of the net here. He enjoys a goal against Tottenham. He didn't score last season, but overall, in his record at Liverpool against Tottenham, he's got plenty of goals. So I'm going to take him plus anytime goal scorer plus 100 for part of the parlay here, which is a bit of a risky bet. I don't usually like siloing in on one particular player, but I feel like
yeah, you do.
Yeah, I do.
I have I need Salah to score. I have over 20.5 goals for him on the season. He's at 16 right now. So
Yeah, and 5 of those have, 5 of those have come in the last
yeah, we
5
got
matches.
6 matches to go. So I'll take 2 goals in this match, and I'll be happy.
What are the odds on that? Over 20 or over 20 and a half,
Over
whatever.
Oh, it was just even odds. That was his over under for the season.
Okay, nice.
So speaking of what you said, I just pulled up their home record. Uh, 10-4-1 at home, 39 goals scored, 13 against. Of course, 7 of those came in one match against Manchester United, but still, I mean, this is it's the second best goal differential in the league in their home matches. That's better than Arsenal, who have been kind of falling apart a little bit, but still pretty relevant. So I'll take that. I'll take Salah to
Also,
score here.
I mean, to be fair, they beat Man United at home 7, 7
Yeah.
goals.
I
And
mean, there's
then
still
they won 9-0 against Bournemouth also at home. So
Oh, is that this season?
yeah, 16 of those goals came in 2
Okay.
matches at home. So
All right, good. Okay. Okay, I'll take it. And the 9 goals when Salah had 0 goals, 0 assists. I
yeah,
remember now.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. No, against
That was
United, I feel like he scored against United, but yeah,
yeah. What did he do? I
I think
have
he
it
had
up
2
right
goals.
here.
I think he had 2 goals and
He
like
had,
an
he had
assist.
2 goals, 2 assists.
Yeah.
So I'm going back to this Newcastle. Well, this is kind of the same idea as the Brighton bet. This is the same bet I took last weekend for Newcastle home against what we were just talking about, Tottenham. So this is Newcastle minus 1.5 corners in the first half. That's minus 120. So you put that with Mohamed Salah to score at plus 100, plus 266 odds. So in terms of this bet, there's not a ton to say. Newcastle are home. They're dominating. Southampton, man, I thought Southampton were going to do a little something today. They lost 1-0 against Bournemouth. They played at home. James Ward-Prowse, the guy who always goes 90 minutes, was apparently substituted out after halftime because he had some kind of illness, something like that. So instead of bringing someone else on, Ruben Celis, the intern manager, brought on Lianco, another center back, and then within 10 minutes, I believe in the second half, they gave up that goal. But Bournemouth had a ton of opportunities in that first half. So Southampton at home can't do anything against Bournemouth. What are they going to do against Newcastle at Newcastle? I think this is going to be like Newcastle 5 corners in the first half, maybe 1 for Southampton, maybe 7 corners in the first half. I just think Newcastle are rolling. They're going to put it on early, and it seems like even if they get a bunch of goals, that the corners happen no matter what. So I'll take minus 1.5 corners in the first half, minus 120.
Man, the way you put that, I feel like I'd put the stamp of approval on this one.
Yeah, this is a pretty
James,
safe bet.
yeah, James Ward-Prowse, yeah, as a standalone. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
if you don't like Salah as an any time to score, I would. I mean, the minus 1.5 sounds like as good as gold there. But yeah,
Yeah, this
James
is
Ward-Prowse,
another one where like it's minus 120 right now. Tomorrow it's going to be minus 130, and then it's going to
yeah,
be minus 1.75. Like this
yeah,
is a bet that when you're listening to this show, you should probably take it because you're going to lose those odds. Because I've been waiting a little bit on some of these, and I'm noticing I'm losing a lot of value when I wait, an hour before some of these matches, especially with like the home team you're betting on, the home favorite to get more corners, kind of a thing. So.
yeah, totally. Yeah.
All right, Chris. So looking at the schedule, we got a double game week. There's 13 matches in game week 34. Does anything else stand out to you outside of Manchester City being the biggest favorite times 2 in their 2 games this
Yeah,
week?
right. Looking at the odds table here on RotoWire.com, but I mean, other than that, I'll be up for the match Sunday. I'm excited for the Liverpool Tottenham. I feel like we always see some sort of pretty solid, exciting match. And if it turns out that Tottenham are still willing to fold, I would be ecstatic. And if plus 100 Mo Salah goal works, that'd be great too. But yeah, Monday night, or I guess Monday night in the UK, going to be all eyes on that Everton Leicester match. That'll be an important game.
The only teams favored away from home in game week 34, Manchester City and Leeds. How about that?
Wow, Leeds
Actually,
barely.
yeah,
Are we sure?
Oh, they're even. They're
Yeah,
even.
even odds. Yeah.
Yeah, let's pull up the odds here really quickly. Leeds. We got Leeds home. No, Bournemouth home against Leeds. They're both plus 165 to win at DraftKings. Who do you think is going to win that one?
I'm taking Leeds, but I don't know Bournemouth with a big result today.
Bournemouth technically have nothing to play for. So I wonder if that comes into play because they're in 36 points. They are, I guess, I won't say technically, but
Yeah,
they're
close.
well above these other teams. So,
But I think they said this on the broadcast the other day. I think I mean, 40 points is like the standard, but I think in the last 12 years, if you've gotten to 37 points, I want to say is what they said, is you've made safety. So, I mean, a draw here for them gets pretty much not ensures, but gives them like a really really strong chance to stay in the league for next season.
yeah. Yeah, they lost Marcus Tavernier to injury today, so that's going to be changing up their starting 11. Leeds have also looked terrible, but anything else for game week 34? So many matches here. It's been a busy week. It's going to be a busy month. The matches aren't going to stop. So, Chris, you can find him at CHROwen8. I am at RotoZdroik on Twitter. Chris, you got anything else here? Any other tidbits here? Liverpool are also at home against Fulham next midweek. Any thoughts on that one?
I haven't looked at it yet, but you know, you get a couple beers in me on a Friday Junior, and I might take Liverpool to make the Champions League. We'll see.
All right, there you have it. Let's who cares? Let's keep this show going. Let's look at this table. Liverpool 7th in the table, 53 points. Aston Villa 54, Tottenham 54. Okay. You got a ways to go. You got a ways to
Plus
go to get that
400
spot.
odds. Plus
Okay.
400 odds.
Plus
Let's go
400.
make some money.
Okay, that
They got one of the they got one of the easier. The only match here is Tottenham. That's kind of concerning, but they otherwise, and I think they might play Aston Villa as well. But
it feels like it should be plus 1,000 odds. They're 7 points behind Manchester United, who have a game in hand here. Those are interesting odds, but either way, kits and wagers. Chris, thanks for joining me. RotoWire.com/soccer trial, free 48-hour trial. We got some other stuff coming up this weekend. I don't know what it is, but I'll figure it out tomorrow. Check out the YouTube channel. It'll be up there. Check out our podcast feed. Like, subscribe. Do it all. Chris, enjoy your weekend. Good luck on your bets. And good luck to Mo Salah. How about that?
Heck yeah.